Hello, I'm Preston Ribnick, and I am pleased to be your host for this informative educational program, The Pearl Method, enhancing communication skills to build caring relationships and improve health outcomes. As founder and president of Professional Resources Group, I have spent the past 27 years assisting healthcare professionals improve patient care by improving communication. Through these years, I have assisted physicians and office staff understand the complex and changing relationships they have with their patients and the family members of patients. These are very stressful times for physicians and office staff members who are required to do more, often in less time and with fewer resources. Hypertension presents a special set of communication challenges. Many studies have found that a significant percentage of hypertensive patients do not adhere to care plans. The name of this program, the Pearl Method, reflects my thinking that effective communication does not occur because of the good intentions of healthcare professionals. Rather, effective communication is achieved by using a sequence of specific skills and techniques, and when strung together, like a string of exquisite pearls, they result in patients hearing, understanding, and correctly acting on the information they receive from their healthcare team. The skills and techniques presented throughout this program will assist you to improve your communication with all patients, especially chronically ill patients. Lessons will be illustrated using real-life situations which you often encounter. Actors playing the roles of physicians and office staff, as well as patients and their family members, will appear in scenes to demonstrate examples of ineffective communication, followed by examples of effective communication. Patients' perceptions of a practice are often influenced even before they arrive for their visit. Telephone performance can even influence a prospective patient's selection of your practice over other practices. In the past, many patients would tolerate long waits on hold, ineffective transfer, curt and poorly trained staff. But today's patients are becoming far more demanding. Barbara's performance was clearly affected by the bad weather and the late arrival of her coworker. Mr. Franklin was not aware of the factors influencing her performance, nor was he interested in them. Patients continuously evaluate Barbara's performance based upon how she treats people calling or coming to the office. Barbara's phone performance can be summarized as rude, indifferent, and unfocused. She put Mr. Franklin on hold as she looked for a pen. She rationalized her lapses by providing excuses.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Her monotone voice communicated indifference to Mr. Franklin's needs. Her hurried responses communicated she was not focused on the caller. And finally, she interrupted the caller to speak to her arriving coworker. Now let's see how Alice, the other receptionist, handles the call. As we compare Barbara and Alice's phone calls, we note that they both spent about the same amount of time on their phone conversations. Alice's was very effective. She answered the phone within 4 rings with a positive and energetic tone of voice. She used a 4-part greeting. Alice used Mrs. Cooper's name 3 times during their brief conversation, which personalized the interaction. She went beyond answering Mrs. Cooper's initial question when Alice offered further assistance when she asked Mrs. Cooper, "Do you need directions to the office, Mrs. Cooper?" Finally, in addition to her positive and effective greeting, Alice had a very positive ending to the call.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, looks like we'll see you in about half an hour.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
The initial greeting by the receptionist sets the tone for the entire visit. Barbara's greeting of Mr. Franklin failed in a number of ways. First, Mr. Franklin and his granddaughter stood at the receptionist's counter waiting for her to complete a call. She avoided acknowledging their arrival by keeping her body and eyes facing away from them. She used the name of the caller during the phone conversation, which violated the caller's confidentiality when she discussed personal information that was overheard by the people standing at the reception desk. Barbara did not introduce herself and her position, nor did she extend a warm or friendly greeting. Finally, she asked Mr. Franklin a series of rapid-fire questions and then issued him a command. Take a seat, and we will call you when the doctor's ready to see you. Now let's observe Alice greeting the next patient. Mrs. Cooper's perception of the greeting to the practice was very positive as compared to Mr. Franklin's. Alice was warm, polite, and aware. She was considerate to the patient in the office and the caller on the phone. When confronted with competing demands, Alice quickly determined that her highest priority was the patient at the desk and appropriately requested permission of the caller to call him back. Once permission was granted, Alice stood up and greeted the arriving patient. She welcomed her to the practice and introduced herself and her position. She briefly described each form and its purpose. When an arriving patient approached the desk, Alice respected Mrs. Cooper's privacy by requesting the new patient take a seat until she was completed speaking with Mrs. Cooper. Alice used a pleasant smile and tone of voice throughout the greeting to project that Community Medical Associates is a warm and friendly practice. Finally, Alice respected Mrs. Cooper's time by giving her a realistic expectation of how long the wait could be. Further, because Mrs. Cooper is a new patient to the practice, Alice briefly described the location of the restrooms and the closet.